We want something that will pass. I don't want to get in a spitting contest with the House of Representatives. I don't want to separate the House from the Senate, the Democrats from the Republicans. I want something that is workable for this industry that will not stifle innovation because time is of the essence. And the frustration that you encounter in dealing with the regulatory climate here in the U.S. Is going to push you abroad if we don't get with the program.
Republican Senator Cynthia Lummis has earned the nickname Queen of Crypto for her unreserved enthusiasm for the industry and a sizable Bitcoin investment worth between $50,000 and $100,000 as of 2021. Last year, the Wyoming senator collaborated with Democrat Senator Kirsten Gillibrand to introduce the Responsible Financial Innovations Act. According to Lummis, the bipartisan bill provides for the regulation of digital assets. It delineates the jurisdiction over digital assets held by the Securities and Exchange Commission, SEC, and the Commodities Futures Trading Commission, CFTC. Lummis recently attended the Bitcoin Policy Summit, where she spoke about some of the changes being made to the bill to sufficiently address issues that have impacted the cryptocurrency industry since the FTX collapse in November. According to the Wyoming senator, the adjusted bill will focus much more on consumer protection and limit the ability to custody and lend within the same business entity for cryptocurrencies that are considered securities. The senator is also aware of the antics of U.S. regulators who seem determined to stifle the industry's growth in the United States. The Republican senator says she wants to get things done as quickly as possible so that cryptocurrency developers and builders will be encouraged to stay and build in the United States, not one of the several countries that have already announced comprehensive regulations for the cryptocurrency industry. We will now bring you clips from the fireside chat with Senator Lummis. Please watch the video to the end, hit the like button, and subscribe to the channel to stay regularly updated on important crypto news and market trends. Also, ensure you drop your comments and observations in the comments section below. Thanks, enjoy the video.
We want to make sure that for cryptocurrencies that have more in common with securities, that the ability to custody and lend within the same business entity is not a good idea. That the disclosures that really the SEC is good at. They're good at shepherding disclosure for consumer protections. So we want to make sure that the SEC is involved, but not through enforcement actions, through the actual submission of information that can help a buyer, a consumer, make an informed decision. So that's going to be a big part of the bill, you see. There are, because of what happened with FTX and other companies, we're making a more robust penalty provision for illicit use and attempts to commit fraud on the consuming public. So our focus is very much not on Bitcoin, but on other cryptocurrencies. We are still working on the bill because the bill that we rolled out last year, which is very comprehensive and that we discussed a lot, then encountered the headwinds of the people you just mentioned that are still concerned about fraudulent use, about the need for a more robust regulatory environment that Senator Gillibrand and I originally crafted. So we're trying to beef up those areas of concern for members of the Senate and the House while still keeping an eye on innovation. And part of what's driving us to continue to move forward is what's happening in the European Union, in the UK, in Switzerland in particular, in Australia as well. The EU is ahead of us. And I've had people come to my office saying, get with it. When is your bill going to pass? We need the United States to lead on this, to participate in this, to be involved in this, to lay out your regulatory framework. So their desire is to see us join them, so we have a globally understood network. And if we don't do it, you all are going to vote with your feet. I don't blame you. You're going to go where there's a regulatory certainty, a clearly understood set of sideboards, and a framework that you can understand and work with. Instead of waking up finding about you're subject to an enforcement action by the SEC when you didn't think, when you thought you were in full compliance of U.S. law. I think you are going to see the consumer protections part being maybe twice as long as it was under the Responsible Financial Innovation Act. There will be some tax components, some penalty components, the clear separation of custody from lending. Um, I, for one, am opposed to a U.S. Central bank digital currency. Some other people are more favorable to it. So we had proposed a study of it. We may leave that on the cutting room floor going forward, but these discussions are still ongoing because the House Financial Services Committee, as well as the House Ag Committee on the commodities side, um, are more engaged in this than they used to be as well.
Crypto investors and developers might soon be granted their wish to see the industry suitably regulated in the United States. According to Patrick McHenry, the chair of the House Financial Services Committee, lawmakers are planning to introduce comprehensive legislation to regulate the industry within the next 2 months. Later in the month, 2 House committees will hold a joint hearing to put together a bipartisan bill that aims to address securities and commodities regimes and other hard-to-fix issues in the crypto sector before the 2024 election. According to McHenry, if all goes well, the bill could be signed by President Joe Biden within the next 12 months. Even if either of these bills is passed today, the United States will still be trailing behind the European Union, Japan, and the United Arab Emirates, all of which have already approved comprehensive crypto laws. In contrast, regulators in the United States have been on the warpath against the industry and some of its most prominent members. During a fireside chat at the Bitcoin Policy Summit, Senator Lummis noted that there was a better way to go about regulating the industry. Instead of the regulatory crackdown, the Wyoming senator wants the SEC and other regulators to provide information that would help lawmakers make an informed decision on suitably regulating the industry. Here's another clip of the Wyoming senator speaking at the event.
As far as members go, I've had a heavy lift, but I think Senator Gillibrand's lift has been heavier because there's more resistance in her party to something that was not created by government and that government cannot control. Because our parties take fundamentally different approaches to the merits and demerits of government control. I tend to look askance at government control, and her party has a tendency to look favorably on government control. And so she's had a much heavier lift than I. And she has been, a valiant advocate, and is just was the perfect person to have working on this. She continues to um, lead that effort. She has some heavy headwinds, but we're also making progress because we have gone together and I have gone separately to meet with some of what I feel are our most hardened opponents. And we're softening them up a little bit. Now, there's a challenge in the regulatory agencies because I think Treasury was the tough nut to crack initially. And then it seemed like they were more receptive, and now once again they seem a little bit more challenging in terms of their concern about not being able to control something that is viewed as both a store of value and especially as a means of exchange. And the SEC has challenges because the industry has been faced with regulatory a regulatory heavy hand now. Enforcement actions are coming down in a way that I think has surprised some people. And so now that relationship has gotten kind of rocky. So the challenges with the federal agencies is going to, I think, ramp up as we move forward with this legislation. And of course, those federal agencies are all under a Democrat president, and Senator Gillibrand is going to be key to finding a way to craft the legislation in a way that she and I believe this industry can use and thrive, and yet um, uh, work with the federal agencies that are going to be responsible for this regulation. Heavy lift, we're both going to stay after it and work hard on it. But I've heard her repeatedly say, this is the role of the United States Congress. This is legislating, this is policy making, this is our job. The executive branch is to implement the legislation, carry it out, but we make it. And I'm just very proud of her uh, strong advocacy for legislating in this area, because I do think that um, she's right about that. I do think we need to legislate and not just defer to the regulatory agencies to make this up as they go.
The senator has aptly described the primary reason why regulators and politicians, especially Democrats, have such a big problem with the cryptocurrency industry. Regulators want something they can easily manipulate and control, just like they do with the traditional finance industry. They are definitely angrier that the industry is out of their reach than they are about the FTX collapse or all of the other reasons they've given for the unwarranted crackdown on the industry. Fortunately, congressional Republicans like Senator Lummis are asking the right questions and criticizing the Biden administration's stance on cryptocurrencies. Hopefully, this is not just more politicking on their part, and they really believe it's important to develop the cryptocurrency industry in the United States instead of driving developers and investors abroad. What are your thoughts on Senator Lummis' fireside chat? Please drop your comments and observations in the comments section. Also, ensure you like this video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on post notifications for more videos like this. Thanks for watching.